The distress signal. Darkness surrounded the small spaceship as it drifted in the vast emptiness of space. The once powerful vessel was now a broken shell, its metal hull scarred with deep burns. Inside, the air was thick with smoke, alarms blaring in warning. The alien crew, what was left of them, moved quickly, their eyes filled with desperation. Captain Selrin, leader of the Valorian fleet, staggered toward the control panel. His tall, slender frame shook with pain, his deep blue skin covered in cuts and burns. His species was once proud and powerful, but now, they were on the brink of extinction. "Commander Zorak, report." Zelrin's voice was hoarse. Zorak, his second in command, wiped the green blood from his forehead. "Engines are gone, Captain. Weapons offline. Shields failing. The Draxan Empire will find us soon." Zelrin clenched his fists. The Draxans, a ruthless warrior species, had already destroyed most of the Valorian colonies. Now they were hunting down the survivors, eliminating any last resistance. "Is the distress signal ready?" Zelrin asked, his voice firm despite his exhaustion. A young officer, barely alive, nodded weakly. "Yes, Captain. But there is a problem. The signal is not reaching any of our allies." Silence filled the broken ship. Their last hope, their last cry for help, was fading into nothingness. "Why?" Zelrin demanded. Zorak hesitated. His glowing yellow eyes flickered with hesitation. "Something strange is happening. The signal is being blocked from reaching the other civilizations, but there is one place it can go." Zelrin frowned. "Where?" Zorak swallowed hard. "A small primitive planet. It is called Earth." The crew exchanged worried glances. Earth was an insignificant world, a place untouched by the great galactic wars. The humans had never even made contact with advanced species. Sending a message there was foolish, but it was their only chance. Zelrin took a deep breath. "Send the signal. We have no choice." Zorak's fingers moved over the controls, pressing the final command. A pulse of blue energy surged from the damaged ship, shooting into the darkness of space, straight toward Earth. But even as the message left the ship, a shadow loomed outside. A Draxan warship had arrived. Earth, NASA headquarters. On the other side of the galaxy, in a small blue planet's control center, a young scientist named Dr. Ryan Carter was staring at his screen in shock. Something was wrong. Ryan had spent years studying deep space signals, hoping to discover proof of alien life. But nothing had ever prepared him for this. His computer monitor flashed wildly, showing strange symbols and an unknown language. The signal was unlike anything he had ever seen before. It was urgent, desperate, a distress call. Dr. Carter, his assistant, Lisa, rushed into the room. "Are you seeing this?" Ryan nodded, his hands shaking slightly. "Yeah, and it's not random static. This is intelligent communication." Lisa's eyes widened. "Where is it coming from?" Ryan hesitated. The coordinates were impossible. From deep space. But here's the strange part. This message was supposed to go somewhere else. "What do you mean?" Ryan tapped a few keys, decoding part of the message. It's like it was meant for someone else, but something forced it to be redirected. And now, it's come to us. Lisa's breath caught in her throat. "So, you're saying we weren't supposed to hear this?" Ryan didn't answer. Instead, he focused on the translation. His screen flickered, and the words appeared in English. "Hail Plus. The Draxan Empire is cunning. Humanity is the last hope." Ryan felt his heart stop. The last hope. What did that mean? Before he could think further, an alert popped up on his screen. The signal was still active, which meant whoever sent it was still out there. "Lisa," Ryan whispered, "we need to send a response." Lisa's eyes widened. "Are you crazy? If this is real, if someone out there is looking for help, we could be inviting something we don't understand." Ryan exhaled slowly. She was right. This was dangerous. But something in his gut told him this wasn't just any distress signal. Something big was coming, and Earth was about to be caught in the middle of it. Draxan warship. The hunt begins. Back in deep space, the Draxan warlord, Kravos, stood inside his warship, watching the remains of the Valorian ship burn. His red, reptilian eyes glowed with satisfaction. The weak creatures had no chance against his forces. One of his soldiers approached. "The ship has been destroyed, my lord, but they sent out a signal before they died." Kravos turned sharply. "Where did it go?" The soldier hesitated. "To an unknown planet, a primitive world called Earth." Kravos narrowed his eyes. A cold smile formed on his lips. "Earth? I have never heard of it." The soldier bowed. "Should we ignore it, my lord? The humans are weak. They are not part of the galactic wars." Kravos chuckled darkly. "Perhaps not. But if the Valorians sent their last hope there, then maybe Earth is worth destroying." He turned toward the massive viewport, where the endless void of space stretched before him. "Prepare the fleet," Kravos commanded. "Set course for Earth." The hunt had begun. The chosen one. A silent message, a loud warning. The night sky over Washington, D.C. was calm, but inside NASA's Deep Space Research Center, chaos had erupted. Scientists, analysts, and military officers crowded around the massive screen displaying the alien transmission. The room buzzed with frantic voices, yet Dr. Ryan Carter heard nothing but his own heartbeat. The message was clear now. "Help US. The Draxan Empire is cunning. Humanity is the last hope." Ryan swallowed hard. He had spent years searching for proof of extraterrestrial life, but never in his wildest dreams had he expected this. Not a peaceful first contact, not a friendly exchange, but a distress call, a warning, a desperate cry for help. Lisa stood beside him, eyes locked on the screen. "Ryan, what do we do?" Before he could respond, the heavy doors behind them burst open. General Marcus Reynolds, a battle-worn leader of the U.S. Space Defense Command, stormed in. His sharp gaze flickered over the screen before he turned to Ryan. "Is this real?" His voice was steel, demanding answers. Ryan straightened. "Every test confirms it. This is an intelligent transmission. Someone out there," he gestured at the screen, "sent it directly to us." The general's jaw tightened. And why would they send it to Earth? Out of all the planets in the galaxy, why us? Ryan hesitated. That was the question that haunted him. It didn't make sense. Earth had never been part of the great intergalactic wars. Humanity was young, inexperienced, insignificant compared to the vast empires of the universe. So why were they calling humans their last hope? A sharp beep echoed from the main console. Lisa's fingers flew over the keyboard. "The transmission isn't just a message," she whispered, her eyes widening. "It's a data package." The room fell into silence. "What kind of data?" Reynolds asked. Lisa bit her lip. "Star maps, weapon schematics, detailed information about a species called the Draxan Empire." Ryan inhaled sharply. "They're not just warning us, General. They're preparing us." A heavy tension settled over the room. The meaning was clear. Whoever sent this message knew Earth was next. A war humanity never knew existed. Thousands of light years away, the Draxan Empire was already on the move. Their warships, monstrous vessels built for destruction, cut through the void of space like silent predators. Inside the command chamber of the flagship, Bloodfang, Warlord Kravos stood before a glowing hologram of Earth. "So, this is humanity's home," Kravos mused, his deep voice laced with amusement. His crimson-scaled fingers traced the planet's image. A primitive world. Small, fragile. His second-in-command, a towering beast named Zurek, nodded. "Yes, my lord. They are technologically inferior. They have no space fleets, no planetary defenses beyond primitive missiles. Crushing them will be simple." Kravos's grin widened, his sharp teeth gleaming. And yet, the Valorians sent their last hope here. He turned to face his war council. That means one of two things. Either the Valorians were desperate fools, or there is something about humanity that we do not understand. The room darkened as Kravos clenched his fist. We will find out soon enough. He stepped forward, eyes burning with cruel delight. Prepare the invasion fleet. We set course for Earth. The fate of humanity had already been decided. The unlikely hero. Ryan barely had time to process what was happening before he found himself in a secure underground base, surrounded by military officials, intelligence agents, and top scientists. A massive screen displayed the Draxen warships moving through space. The invasion had already begun. We need a response, General Reynolds declared. We can't just sit here while an alien army marches toward us. Lisa spoke up. Sir, with all due respect, our weapons are useless against intergalactic fleets. Our best aircraft would be destroyed before they even reached orbit. Reynolds nodded, which is why we need something else. All eyes turned to Ryan. Confused, he raised his hands. Wait, why are you looking at me? Reynolds exhaled. Because, Dr. Carter, the message was meant for you. Ryan's breath caught. That's crazy. I'm just a scientist. I don't know anything about warfare or intergalactic diplomacy. The general didn't flinch. Maybe not. But you were the first to decode their language. You were the first to receive their data. Whatever the Valorians saw in humanity, they saw it through you. Ryan shook his head. This doesn't make any sense. Reynolds stepped forward. Then make it make sense. If there is something in those files that can help us fight back, we need to know. Lisa touched Ryan's arm. You can do this, she whispered. Ryan wasn't sure if he could. But one thing was clear. If he didn't, humanity was doomed. The final revelation. As the Earth scrambled to prepare for the impossible, one final piece of the message decrypted itself. Ryan's eyes widened as a new line of text appeared. Humanity poesy is the one we upon draxans cannot defeat. His hands trembled as he whispered, What weapon? Lisa leaned in, reading the final part of the message. The unpredictability of DKE human mind. Silence. Ryan exhaled. They don't know how to predict us. They don't know how to fight what they don't understand. Reynolds smirked. Then let's teach them. First contact. A signal from the void. Deep in the Arctic tundra, hidden beneath layers of ice and secrecy, Project Skywatch had been monitoring space for decades. Most of the time, they found nothing. Just the cold, endless void. But tonight was different. A single red light blinked on the master console. Sir, we've detected an incoming object. A young technician called out, his voice tight with mirrors. Commander Elias Grant, the no-nonsense director of Skywatch, stepped forward. His sharp blue eyes narrowed as he studied the screen. Size. Roughly the size of a commercial jet, moving at speeds far beyond our own aircraft capabilities. Trajectory. The room fell into silence. It's heading straight for Earth. Grant inhaled sharply. Impact zone. Another technician hesitated. North America. Estimated landing within 12 hours. Grant turned to his team. Scramble every available asset. If this thing is alien, I want to be the first to greet it. His fingers hovered over the emergency comms line. If the world wasn't already on high alert from the decoded distress call, it would be now. Because something was coming. And it wasn't slowing down. Draxen warship, hunter, and prey. The Draxen Empire's flagship, Bloodfang, tore through the void of space like a predator hunting wounded prey. Warlord Kravos stood on the command deck, his reptilian gaze fixed on the holographic projection of Earth. This planet looks weak, he mused. Yet the Valorians called it their last hope. His second in command, Zirak, sneered. Perhaps they hope to hide among the humans. If so, They are fools. We will burn this planet to the ground." Kravos smiled darkly. "Indeed. But first, I want to see these humans for myself." A sharp hiss filled the chamber as a Draxan scout pod was prepped for launch. Unlike their massive warships, this pod was designed for stealth. Small, nearly undetectable, perfect for slipping past human defenses. Kravos turned to his elite hunter unit, 6 battle-scarred Draxans trained for assassination. Their black armor gleamed under the warship's crimson lights. "Go to this planet," Kravos commanded. "Find out what makes these humans so dangerous. And if they prove to be as weak as I suspect," he stepped closer, his breath like fire, "then crush them before they even know we're here." The unwelcome visitor. Somewhere in the Nevada desert, the sky split open. A ball of fire roared down from the heavens, crashing into the sand with an earth-shaking impact. The Draxan scout pod had arrived. Inside the command center of Area 17, alarms blared. Military personnel rushed to their stations as satellite feeds showed the unidentified object resting in the dunes. General Marcus Reynolds, flanked by Dr. Ryan Carter and his team, leaned over the monitors. "That's no meteor," Lisa whispered. Ryan nodded, his stomach tightening. "No, that's a ship." Reynolds turned to his second-in-command. "Send a recovery team. Secure the site, and get me live footage. If there's something inside, I want to know before it finds us." The hunters arrive. The desert air was still when the first soldiers arrived at the crash site. Their boots crunched against the cooling sand, their rifles aimed at the wreckage. "Do you see anything?" one whispered. Before anyone could respond, the ship moved. A sharp hiss cut through the air as the pod's door slowly peeled open, revealing a darkness inside that seemed to breathe. Then, without warning, something fast, something inhuman, lunged forward. The first soldier barely had time to scream before razor-sharp claws tore through his armor. The attack was silent, swift, deadly. In seconds, half the team was down, their bodies lifeless on the ground. The survivors fired their weapons, but their bullets barely scratched the Draxan hunters. "Fall back. Fall." Another scream. Another body dropped. From the shadows, a pair of glowing red eyes watched. The lead hunter, Scar, tilted his head, studying the humans. Pathetic. This was Earth's so-called last hope. With a silent signal, he and his warriors disappeared into the darkness. The mission was clear. Hunt, observe, kill if necessary, and above all else, find what makes humans dangerous. The encounter. Hours later, at Area 17, Ryan Carter sat in a dimly lit meeting room, reviewing the classified footage of the attack. It was horrifying. The creatures had moved like ghosts, cutting down soldiers before they could react. "They were testing us," Ryan murmured. Reynolds, standing nearby, crossed his arms. "Explain." Ryan pointed at the screen. "They didn't wipe out the whole team. They could have, but they didn't. Instead, they vanished." Lisa swallowed, like they were scouting. Ryan nodded. "Exactly. They're not here for war." He turned to the general. "They're here to study us." Reynolds exhaled. "Then we make sure they don't like what they find." A sudden knock on the door interrupted them. A soldier rushed in, breathless. "Sir, we have an unidentified visitor at the outer gate." Reynolds frowned. "Another Draxan." The soldier shook his head. "No, sir. It's something else." Ryan and Lisa exchanged uneasy glances as they followed Reynolds through the hallways of the base. When they reached the security checkpoint, the guards stood frozen, their weapons raised at the mysterious figure standing at the gate. Ryan's breath caught. It was an alien, but not a Draxan. The being was tall, its silver-blue skin reflecting the base's floodlights. It wore tattered armor, its body weak, wounded, but its golden eyes burned with determination. "Who are you?" Reynolds demanded. The alien took a shaky breath and spoke. "I am Selrin, last captain of the Valorian fleet. His voice was raw, but urgent. Ryan's mind reeled. The one who sent the distress signal. You sent the message, Ryan whispered. Zelrin nodded. Yes, and I have come to warn you. The Draxans are already here. The air grew ice-cold. Ryan felt his pulse quicken. This was no longer a distant war. It had already begun. The threat revealed. A visitor with a warning. The air inside Area 17 was thick with tension. Armed soldiers surrounded the newly arrived alien, Zelrin, their fingers twitching over their triggers. Floodlights bathed the silver blue-skinned figure in harsh light, his golden eyes scanning the humans with measured calm. Ryan Carter stood at the front, heart pounding. The message they had received days ago had been a cry for help. Zelrin's cry for help. Now, the sender of that message was standing before them, wounded and weak. General Reynolds stepped forward, his sharp gaze locked onto the alien. I want answers. Right now. Zelrin exhaled, pain evident in his expression. There is little time, he rasped. The Draxan Empire has already set its sights on Earth. Ryan clenched his fists. We know. Their scouts have already landed. Zelrin's eyes darkened. Then your world is on the verge of extinction. Silence fell over the room. Soldiers shifted uneasily. Reynolds narrowed his eyes. Explain. Zelrin looked over the crowd, then took a step forward. The soldiers raised their rifles in warning, but he ignored them. Your people do not understand what is coming, he said. The Draxans are not invaders. They are executioners. Ryan swallowed. Executioners. Zelrin turned his gaze to him. The Draxan Empire has no need for diplomacy, no desire for conquest. They do not colonize. They erase. They wipe entire species from existence. There will be no surrender, no negotiation. Earth will burn, and its people will be nothing but whispers in the void. Lisa gasped. Reynolds clenched his jaw. They're exterminators, Ryan muttered. Zelrin nodded. Yes. And your world is next. The fall of a civilization. Reynolds folded his arms. Why? What did Earth do to deserve their attention? Zelrin's expression hardened. Nothing. That is the horror of it. The Draxans do not need a reason. He turned, walking to the large digital map of Earth on the war room's main screen. Thousands of years ago, my people, the Valorians, were the same as you, believing ourselves untouchable, strong in our own way. Then the Draxans arrived. Ryan and Lisa listened, hanging onto his every word. Zelrin's voice became heavy. They did not attack our military first. They targeted our power grids, our satellites, our food supplies. In a matter of weeks, our skies were dark, our cities silent. They broke us before we could fight back. And when we were weak, they came. He turned to face them, his golden eyes filled with pain. We were slaughtered. My people are gone. I am the last Valorian alive. Chilling silence filled the room. Lisa whispered, they wiped out an entire species, and now they're coming here. Zelrin nodded. Unless you stop them. Humanity's biggest weakness. Reynolds stepped forward. Tell us what we need to do. How do we stop them? Zelrin hesitated. Your people are brave, but you are unprepared. The Draxans have been waging war for centuries. They are built for it. Your armies are strong on Earth, but in space, against them, you are nothing. Ryan exhaled. So you're saying we're doomed? Zelrin studied him for a long moment. Then, something strange happened. A small smile played at the edge of his lips. No, he said quietly, because your people have one thing the Draxans have never encountered. Reynolds frowned. And what's that? Zelrin's golden eyes gleamed. Unpredictability. Ryan blinked. What? The Draxans have fought thousands of wars. They are brutal, efficient, methodical. They always know what their enemies will do next. But humans, you are chaotic, reckless, and irrational. Reynolds raised an eyebrow. That's supposed to be an advantage. Zelrin nodded. Yes, because it means they cannot predict your movements. They cannot anticipate your strategies. That is why the Valorians sent the message to you, because for the first time in history, the Draxans will face an enemy they do not understand. Ryan's mind raced. This was why the signal had come to Earth, not because humanity was the strongest species, but because they were the wild card. Reynolds nodded. If unpredictability is our strength, we need to use it. What are their weaknesses? Zelrin sighed. The Draxans have few weaknesses. Their warriors are stronger than humans, their ships faster, their technology centuries ahead of yours. But he tapped the map screen, zooming in on a section of deep space. They have one vulnerability. Their entire war machine is powered by the Apex core, an artificial intelligence that calculates their every move. It controls their fleets, their battle formations, their supply lines. Ryan's eyes widened. And if we destroy it? Zelrin's lips pressed into a thin line. Then we cripple their entire empire. Lisa frowned. Where is it? Zelrin hesitated. That is the problem. The Apex core is mobile, hidden within a warship, always moving between their fleets. It has never been located. Reynolds exhaled sharply. So we have to find the unfindable and destroy it before they destroy us. Ryan clenched his fists. Then we find it, and we end this war before it begins. The war begins. Meanwhile, in deep space, the Draxan invasion fleet was drawing closer to Earth. On the bridge of Bloodfang, Warlord Kravos stood before a massive holographic projection of Earth. His yellow eyes gleamed with hunger. How long until we reach them? He asked. Zirak, his second in command, responded. 2 days, my lord. Kravos grinned. Good. And what of our scouts? Zirak hesitated. They have reported resistance. The humans are not as weak as we assumed. Kravos turned sharply. Is that so? Zirak nodded. They fight back. They adapt quickly. And, he hesitated, they are unpredictable. For the first time in years, Warlord Kravos felt a flicker of something strange. Doubt. But then, he crushed it. No species had ever stopped the Draxan Empire. Humanity would be no different. With a cold smile, he stepped forward. Then we will burn them faster. The invasion had begun. The ultimate strategy. The countdown to war. The sun was rising over Washington, D.C., casting long shadows over the Pentagon as military leaders, top scientists, and world government officials gathered in a secret underground war room. The air was tense. Earth had less than 48 hours before the Draxan fleet arrived. The holographic display in the center of the room showed a massive fleet of warships moving toward Earth like an unstoppable tidal wave. The red markers, representing the Draxan forces, outnumbered anything humanity had ever faced. General Marcus Reynolds leaned over the table, his face grim. This isn't just an invasion. It's an extermination. Dr. Ryan Carter, sitting beside Zelrin, nodded. And if we don't stop them, we're looking at the end of human civilization. Lisa, who had spent all night analyzing the Valorian data, spoke up. The only way to stop them is the Apex core. If we take it down, we cripple their entire war machine. But we don't even know where it is, one of the intelligence officers pointed out. That's like looking for a needle in a galaxy-sized haystack. Ryan exhaled. Then we change the game. We don't find the Apex core. We make it come to us. The room fell silent. Reynolds raised an eyebrow. You're suggesting we bait the deadliest military force in the galaxy into exposing their most valuable asset. Ryan nodded. Exactly. Zelrin folded his arms. A bold strategy, but also incredibly foolish. The Draxans are intelligent. They will not be easily lured. Ryan's eyes flickered with determination. Maybe not by logic, but by something they can't ignore. Lisa caught on. You mean a human trap? Ryan smirked. The Drexens think we're weak. They think we'll run, beg for mercy. What happens if we do the opposite? Reynolds grinned. We fight back, and we make them think we have something they need. Zelleran narrowed his golden eyes. They will come. But if this fails, Earth will be destroyed even faster. Ryan nodded. Then we make sure it doesn't fail. Operation Phantom Storm. The plan to lure the Apex Core. The plan was risky, insane, and completely untested, but it was their only shot. Stage a fake superweapon. The world's top scientists would construct a false energy signature, making it appear that Earth had developed a weapon powerful enough to threaten Draxen ships. If the Draxens believed humanity possessed something dangerous, they would send the Apex Core to analyze it. The battlefield. Earth's orbit. Instead of hiding, Earth's forces would take the fight to space. The first ever human space fleet, a combination of retrofitted military satellites, armed space shuttles, and experimental railguns, would act as the first line of defense. Strike Team Omega, the infiltration unit. A small covered team of humans and Zelleran would be sent to infiltrate the Apex Core once it revealed itself. Their mission: destroy it from the inside. The final escape route. If the plan failed, Earth would activate a global blackout, using EMPs to disrupt enemy sensors and give civilians time to evacuate underground. Ryan, Lisa, and Zelleran would lead Strike Team Omega. Now we just need to convince the Draxens that we have something worth protecting, Ryan said. Reynolds nodded. Then let's give them a reason to be scared. The Draxen war machine reacts. Aboard the Bloodfang, Warlord Kravos stood before a holographic image of Earth. His eyes narrowed as he observed the sudden spike of a strange energy signature on the planet's surface. Explain this, he growled. Zirak, his second in command, tapped the controls. Our sensors indicate a massive energy buildup in the North American sector. It is unlike any human technology we have encountered. Kravos grinned. Are they trying to hide their strength from us? Zirak hesitated. Or they have developed a weapon we did not anticipate. For a brief moment, a flicker of something passed through Kravos' mind. Doubt. His kind had never lost a war. Not once. But something about this was unexpected. Summon the Apex Core. I want it here, Kravos commanded. Zirak hesitated. But my lord, the Core has never been deployed to the front lines. Kravos turned, eyes glowing with malice. And no species has ever dared to deceive us. If these humans think they can threaten us, we will show them why the Draxen Empire has ruled for millennia. The order was given. The Apex Core was coming. The battle begins. Earth's forces were waiting. On the launch deck of the U.S. Exodus, the first human warship built for space combat, Ryan Carter adjusted his helmet. His heart pounded as he looked out of the massive viewport. Thousands of Draxen warships were approaching. The final battle was here. This is crazy, Lisa muttered beside him, tightening her gloves. We're actually fighting an intergalactic empire with nothing but a fleet of modified satellites and hope. Ryan smirked. Hey, at least hope is unpredictable. Zelleran, standing beside them, checked his weapon. Prepare yourselves. The moment the Apex Core arrives, we must act quickly. Alarms blared. Reynolds' voice crackled over the comms. All units, engage. Let's show them what humanity is made of. And then, hell broke loose. The first wave of Draxen ships descended, their cannons raining fire upon Earth's defenses. The U.S. Exodus and its fleet returned fire, unleashing railgun blasts and missile barrages. Hundreds of drones and fighter jets streaked through the blackness, dodging energy blasts. Explosions tore through the sky as metal clashed against metal. Earth's first space war had begun. Ryan and his team launched in their stealth ship, slipping through the chaos toward their real target. They weren't here to win a battle. They were here to end the war. The arrival of the Apex Core. Through the chaos, A massive black warship emerged from the darkness. It was twice the size of any Draxan battleship, its hull pulsing with a strange, eerie light. It did not fire. It did not engage. It simply watched. Lisa gasped. That's it. That's the apex core. Ryan tightened his grip on the controls. All right, people. This is it. We get in, we take it down, and we make sure Earth survives. Selren's golden eyes gleamed. Then let's not waste time. As the battle raged around them, their ship slipped into the shadows, heading straight for the brain of the Draxan Empire. The last stand. The eye of the storm. The void of space was a battlefield. The first ever human space fleet fought against a force beyond anything Earth had ever faced. The Draxan warships, monstrous and sleek, moved with deadly precision, their weapons tearing through satellites and defense platforms like they were nothing. Explosions bloomed in the darkness as Earth's forces fired back with everything they had. Railguns crackled, missiles screamed through the void, and experimental energy weapons flared against Draxan shields. But no matter how fiercely humanity fought, the Draxan fleet kept coming. Inside the U.S. Exodus, General Marcus Reynolds gritted his teeth. We're losing too many ships. We need a miracle. Little did he know, the real fight was happening elsewhere. A silent infiltration. While war raged outside, Ryan Carter, Lisa, Selren, and Strike Team Omega floated in the darkness, their stealth ship drifting toward their target. The Apex Core warship. It was massive, almost a moving fortress. Unlike the other Draxan ships, it had no visible weapons, no glowing thrusters. It simply loomed in the void, watching. Lisa whispered over the comms, "This thing is giving me nightmares." Ryan's hands were tight on the controls. It should. That's the brain of the Draxan Empire. Zelran, checking his plasma rifle, spoke grimly. And we are about to rip it out. The ship's cloaking system kept them hidden as they slipped into a hangar bay. The moment they touched down, Ryan and his team moved fast. They were ghosts. Their mission was clear. Locate the Apex Core. Plant the virus to corrupt its AI systems. Escape before the ship self-destructed. Simple on paper, impossible in reality. Ryan exhaled. No turning back now. Let's move. The heart of the machine. The inside of the ship was nothing like they expected. It was quiet, too quiet. Dark walls pulsed with strange energy, shifting like a living thing. There were no guards, no soldiers, just empty halls filled with a soft, humming sound. Lisa whispered, "Where is everyone?" Selren tensed. "They don't need guards." Ryan frowned. "What do you mean?" Selren looked up at the walls. "This ship is alive." Before Ryan could respond, a deep mechanical voice echoed through the air. "Intruders detected." Lisa froze. Oh crap. The walls moved. Metallic tendrils slithered from the floor. Red lights flickered to life. The air itself shifted, sensing them. Then the Apex Core spoke again. "You are an anomaly. You do not belong." Ryan's breath caught. This wasn't just a machine. It was watching them, studying them. Zelren's voice was sharp. "Move. Now." The team sprinted through the halls as the ship itself came alive, twisting and shifting, trying to trap them. The Apex Core was not going to let them leave. The war turns. Meanwhile, outside, the human fleet was falling apart. On the U.S. Exodus, General Reynolds watched in horror as another wave of Draxan ships tore through their ranks. The false superweapon trap had worked. It had lured the Apex Core here. But now, Earth was running out of time. Reynolds slammed his fist on the console. "Where's Carter's team? We need that core down now." But deep inside the Apex Core ship, Ryan and his team were fighting for their lives. The face of the enemy. The team finally reached the core chamber, a massive open space with a single towering AI construct floating in the center. The Apex Core. It was a swirling mass of dark energy and shifting metal, constantly changing shape, like it was thinking, calculating. Then it spoke. "You are unpredictable. That makes you dangerous." Ryan stepped forward, gripping the virus drive in his hand. "Yeah, well, that's kind of what we do." He lunged forward. But the apex core moved first. A blast of energy slammed into the team, sending them flying. Lisa hit the wall hard, groaning. Zelrin barely caught himself. Ryan struggled to his feet, watching in horror as the core began taking shape. A figure emerged from the swirling energy. It looked human. Lisa's eyes widened. No, that's impossible. The apex core had created a humanoid form, its glowing eyes locking onto them. Its voice was colder than death. "I have studied humanity. I have learned your weakness. You fight against fate, but fate cannot be changed." It lunged. Ryan barely dodged as the apex core struck like lightning. It was fast, impossibly fast. Each hit sent shockwaves through the chamber. They were outmatched. Zelrin fired his plasma rifle, but the core shifted, dodging in ways that no living thing could. Ryan's mind raced. This wasn't just an eye. This was something else. Something evolving. Lisa shouted, "Ryan, we can't win this fight." Ryan's grip tightened around the virus drive. "We don't have to." He ran straight at the core. It reached for him, but that was the mistake. Ryan slammed the virus drive into the core's mainframe. For a second, nothing happened. Then, chaos. The entire ship shook violently as the core screamed in pain. The walls cracked, the lights flickered. The virus was spreading. The apex core's voice distorted. "No, this is not possible." Ryan fell back, gasping. "Yeah, well, get used to it." The collapse of an empire. Outside, on the battlefield, something changed. One by one, Draxen warships stopped moving. Their formations broke apart. Their weapons fell silent. On the Bloodfang, Warlord Kravos staggered forward. "Report." Zurich's voice was filled with panic. "My lord, the apex core is failing. We are losing control of the fleet." Kravos' eyes widened. No, this cannot be." Then, on the main screen, a terrifying sight. The apex core warship was breaking apart. Its energy spiraled out of control. It was dying. And with it, the entire Draxen war machine was collapsing. Kravos clenched his fists, his reptilian eyes burning with fury. Curse these humans. Then his ship exploded. Victory, at a cost. Ryan and his team barely made it back to their ship as the apex core warship disintegrated. The Draxens were defeated. The war was over. As they drifted in space, Ryan looked down at Earth, the planet they had just saved. Lisa slumped beside him. "We actually did it." Zelrin exhaled. "Yes, but at what cost?" Ryan didn't answer, because deep down, he knew this wasn't the end. The Draxen Empire had fallen, but something worse was waiting in the shadows. The aftermath and a new dawn. Silence after the storm. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, the void of space was silent. The battle was over. The war was won. From the bridge of the U.S. Exodus, General Marcus Reynolds watched as the debris of the Draxen fleet drifted like shattered tombstones. What had once been an unstoppable force was now a graveyard of wreckage. The apex core was destroyed. The Draxen Empire was collapsing. But despite the victory, something inside Reynolds felt uneasy. Ryan Carter, still covered in soot and wounds, staggered into the command center, Lisa and Zelrin following behind. Reynolds turned. "Carter, you actually did it." Ryan exhaled. "Barely." Lisa flopped into a chair. "Let's not do that again." Zelrin, the last Valorian, stood with his arms crossed, his golden eyes scanning the aftermath of the battle. "This is a momentous victory, But the universe is not so simple. There will be consequences. Reynolds frowned. What do you mean? Celerin turned to him. The Draxans were feared across the stars. They kept many lesser factions in check, through fear, through power. With them gone, Ryan finished the thought. It leaves a power vacuum. Celerin nodded. And something will fill it. Reynolds exhaled. One war ends. Another begins. Silence. Then the comms officer's voice crackled over the speakers. Sir, we have incoming transmissions, multiple sources, from across the galaxy. Ryan and Lisa exchanged looks. The universe had noticed humanity. And that changed everything. The cost of victory. Earth. 48 hours later, the world was different now. News networks across every country played the same footage. The battle in space, the fall of the Draxan fleet, the moment humanity became something more. People celebrated in the streets. Church bells rang. Crowds cheered beneath banners that read "Humanity Triumphant." But beneath the surface, fear lingered. Because for the first time in history, Earth was no longer alone. Inside a top-secret government bunker, world leaders gathered to discuss the future. A holographic map of the galaxy flickered in the air. For decades, they had assumed humanity was alone. Now, they saw the truth. Earth was just one small piece of something much bigger. Ryan, standing in the back of the room, whispered to Lisa, "This changes everything." Lisa nodded. "We're not just a planet anymore. We're a player." Celerin stood nearby, listening. He had fought for his people, and lost them. Now, he watched as humanity stood at the same crossroads. "Your people have entered the great game," he murmured. "Be careful, Ryan Carter. The universe is vast, and its rulers do not tolerate challengers." Ryan looked at him. "We didn't start this war, Celerin, but we sure as hell finished it." Celerin smiled faintly. "Yes, but wars never truly end." Ryan didn't answer. Because deep down, he knew Celerin was right. Echoes from the dark. Somewhere in the Andromeda galaxy, a cold, silent void stretched beyond sight, broken only by the dim glow of a dying star. Floating in the shadows, unseen by any living being, was an ancient forgotten entity. It had been sleeping for centuries, waiting for a moment like this. Now something had awakened it. Its sensors flickered online. Its vast consciousness stretched across the void. It had felt the fall of the apex core. It had felt the death of the Draxan Empire. It turned its attention toward a small, insignificant planet, Earth. And for the first time in 1,000 years, the entity spoke. A deep, emotionless voice echoed through the darkness. "Interesting. The humans have survived." A pause. Then, amusement. "Let us see if they can survive what comes next." The shadows stirred. Something ancient, something powerful had begun to move. And this time, humanity was not ready.